Hey, this is Majinoni. Here's some comic reviews for you. Let's start off with Suicide Squad number 4 with the infamous Hit 'em at the High cover. Some of you may know what that reference means. But anyways, this is the end of the battle in the Russian military complex with Zod. And overall, I mean, it was a pretty decent fight. It's the best at what it could be because it's not like they could really have taken him down like on a Superman level type fight. But overall, I thought it was a pretty decent storyline. It had good art. It did have some issues along the way, and I thought that it could have been done maybe a little better. I mean, this definitely was not one of the stronger of the Rebirth launches, but compared to what Suicide Squad has been like, this has actually overall been a breath of fresh air. Okay, let's go with Glitter Bomb number 2. Now, this is I guess you can say this is an image horror title. What's going on is there is an older actress and she's struggling. She's having a hard time, making ends meet. She's a single mother. Her babysitter's starting to get annoyed with not getting paid, and now she had her agent basically just go off on her. And while all that's going on, she basically, in the issue before this, went to the beach, and then I'll just word it this way: she got dragged into the ocean, and she came back as a creature. And as you can see by this panel here, she's got tentacle-like things that come out and kill. And she has no memory of what she's doing while this occurs. So in this issue here, it's basically she just killed her agent. And it's like the ramifications afterwards. It's, she's going home. She's trying to piece everything together. Yeah, I mean, yes, she knows that she's the one who probably killed the agent, but at the same time, she has no concept of what's going on within her. I mean, overall, it's an interesting storyline so far. I'll keep getting it for now, but we'll see how this thing plays out. Alright, this is Scott Snyder's and Greg Capullo's image title Reborn. The art is, as you would imagine, it's top notch. And this is I don't want to give too much away, but I will say that the story follows an elderly woman, and I guess you can say she's not afraid to die. She just doesn't kind of want to end up as a stroke victim where she's in some sort of care unit, and she suffers along the way. And the bulk of this issue is her going through life, and you see it starting off as a young child, quickly going through getting married, having kids, and things like that. And there is, as you can tell, there's like a fantasy world that she ends up in. Now, I thought that the basic premise of this is actually kind of interesting in that it's kind of like, I guess one way to look at it is like you're being transported to heaven. It's not heaven, but it's when you die, that's kind of like what's going on. And there's a lot more to it which I'm leaving out, but overall I thought that this was actually a really decent start, and I'm actually looking forward to seeing more of this. There's going to be some battles, there's creatures, there's monsters, and it definitely does look like it's going to be an interesting read overall. Shade the Changing Girl. Now, Shade used to be Shade the Changing Man, and they changed for the Reborn relaunch, and this is under their Young Animal, I guess you can say their tagline. But for those of you who don't know, Shade it's kind of like a character who's insane, and he had this jacket, and it was like when the last time we saw Shade, I think it was under the Vertigo line, and it was basically really trippy of a storyline, and it was very for lack of a better word term, I guess you can say it was not like kid friendly, because it's not that there was tons of violence and things like that, but it was just, like the subject matter was just crazy, and it wasn't like your typical superhero title. And with Shade the Changing Girl, the story revolves around a young girl, and she basically was in a coma. She suddenly wakes up out of it, and her doctor basically was like, she's gonna die. I mean, because she's never gonna come out of it, so you might as well just pull her off life support and let her go. Well, her parents were having a hard time with that, and then, like I said, when she wakes up, it's like craziness starts going on around her, and while the issue goes on, we learn more about why she was actually in the coma, how she gets out of the coma, and overall, I mean, I'm not showing a lot because I don't want to spoil too much of the book, because it actually really is an interesting storyline so far. And at first I wasn't going to get it, but now after reading this issue, I'm definitely going to add this to my pull list, because this is definitely, for what I can say, is it's not your traditional type of superhero storyline. And Shade, like I said, Shade is just a trippy story. So I really kind of want to see where they're going to go with it under the Rebirth banner. Okay, Superwoman number 3. While I'm enjoying the story, one thing that it just seems basically like they basically said, well, since Superman's not the main character, we have to make all the appropriate lead characters female type thing instead of where they're being male. So it's definitely like a flip. Now, that being said, I think the story is decent, where you have, on one hand, Lana having issues with her power. You have LexCorp, and then their, basically criminal activities. And then you have the storyline of Lex's sister coming back for revenge. And when you tie everything together, it's definitely not a good thing for Lex. Overall, the story it's been fun. It's definitely full of surprises, especially since they flipped everything. And I think the art has been really good also at the same time. So I'm definitely glad I picked it up, even though originally I wasn't going to. And I don't know how long I'm going to stay with it, but I mean, because I kind of wish they just called it something different rather than Superwoman, because when you hear Superwoman, you think of it as like the Man of Steel type or like a Supergirl-ish type thing, but this is nothing like it. And it would have been, I understand why they used the name Super, but it would have been nicer if they deviated a little bit from that. That way it just gave it its own unique identity. All-Star Batman. Secrets revealed that we never knew existed type thing. And, it's the gauntlet is still going on. There's some kind of, I guess you can say, a funny moment in there, but it's pretty brutal still with KG Beast just jacking up Batman and Two-Face. Overall, it's Scott Snyder. It's a very good read. I think, for me at least, I'm having issues with it in terms of a single issue, because it's those darn cliffhangers, and it's kind of like really like intense fighting, and then it pulls back a little bit and then gives you the cliffhanger. I think this would actually be a much better read if it was a trade. So I might depending on how this finishes out, I might get it as a trade also. But overall, I'm enjoying it. But I mean, I don't know what else you can really say. It is what it is. It's a Scott Snyder Batman book, so it's gonna ultimately end up being probably really good. Alright, Detective Comics, the end of the Monster Men. For everything that was, for this big battle with giant creatures, it ended kind of quickly. Now, even though I'm saying that it ended kind of quickly, they did have lots of hardship along the way. And it did actually have, I mean, overall, it was a really decent fight. One thing I thought was kind of funny was, as I was reading this thing, it's like, Batman tells them about, Batwoman and Nightwing, and spoiling them about a special weapon that he created. And when I see them going into the different buildings that Bruce Wayne owns, slide down chutes, it just reminded me of Voltron. And I half expected these giant buildings to form Voltron to fight the final giant monster, because this one looked huge. And overall, I mean, that's not what happened, but it made a little bit more sense what happened. But overall, I thought this was a really good read. I thought that the way Batman overcame Hugo Strange was actually a little bit smart. Good storyline overall. I liked how they incorporated all the characters, throughout the entire storyline, even during the regular Batman title, and Nightwing. Overall, I thought, great job. This was like a really entertaining read, and this is definitely a step in the right direction type thing for the Batman series as a whole. Old Man Logan number 12. This has just been one of Marvel's best books so far. The art has just been fantastic. The battle continues with the monk, and overall it's while the battle is just part of the thing, it's more about, I guess you can say, the inner dialogues along the way as Logan's just getting jacked up. And overall, this was just a really, really pleasure to read and just, like I said, absorb the artwork, because this has been a fantastic storyline. Definitely tradable, and more people should be buying. I mean, I know everybody hates on Marvel about what some of the things that they're doing, but Old Man Logan is probably one of the better books that did come out of Secret Wars. Gwenpool number 1. There's just something about this book that just, it's funny. It's a little bit on the cute side. I love the cartoonish style artwork, and it's just, this is another one that's just like, when you have all these gritty heroes, you have all of this, big epic storylines, it's just fun every now and then to just take something and just, read it where it doesn't take itself seriously. I mean, I realize that the regular Deadpool book does the same thing, but this is a little bit different in the sense that it's a little bit more cartoony. And, I mean, it's like Deadpool still is like a deadly serious character, but then you see Gwenpool with the pink and the white, and you just, she doesn't have that threat that Deadpool has. So that's why it's, I don't know, there's just something about it that's really appealing. And it's, like I said, I'm still enjoying the book, surprisingly, because I really thought I would hated it by now. Alright, The Clone Conspiracy. We get treated with the funeral first, and of course Peter's taking his father-in-law's death to heart, because he's the one that said don't take the treatment, and he can't tell anybody that there's something about this treatment that's bad, because then that would reveal that he's Spider-Man. And while everything makes sense, to me it's like, we've seen this so many times. It's like, how many times are they just going to keep doing this type of story where it's like, come on, just change it up just a little bit maybe. But, it is Peter Parker. I guess you have to write him as a formula. Otherwise, people would probably still complain that, that's not the way Peter happened to Peter Parker, because he's bad luck, he's always going to have troubles. So, I mean, overall, it was decent. I think they kind of ruined the surprise at the end by putting out the spoilers for it. But, I mean, while we knew this was coming, based on what we've read in other issues, it's just that I would think that the ending would have had a much better impact without all that spoiler stuff. And finally, I guess you could say, I mean, the gist of the storyline is just Peter finally taking much more of an initiative into figuring out what's going on. Because now he's really got to find proof and figure out exactly what the Jackal's up to. But overall, I mean, it's a decent read. I think I mean, part of me wants to just drop it all anyways. But there's another part of me that's going, you've stuck with Slott for so long. Supposedly this is his last storyline. Just finish it out, and then if that's true, this is his last storyline, then when they switch to somebody new, that would be a great opportunity to just drop the book for a while. So we'll see what happens. All right, Uncanny Avengers Civil War 2 Aftermath. This is not really a civil. I guess you could say yes, it's aftermath because this is what happened after the fact of them killing Bruce Banner, but it also made it sound like that this is what happens after Civil War, which isn't the case because Civil War is still going on, and Cap is basically kicked out Rogue and Deadpool from the Uncanny Avengers. He's basically went to Johnny Storm and said, hey, if you want, we can swap you to the regular Avengers unit. And it's just, nobody has any clue what's going on. And that's when they find out from Brother Voodoo that, hey, the Hand is going to try to resurrect the Hulk. And so they basically teleport to Japan, fight ninjas, and that's all you really need to know in terms of a plot. Because the Hand's going to succeed. Overall, I thought the art was good. The fighting with the ninjas was pretty decent considering it's just superheroes punching ninjas. But overall, I mean, it's one of the better Avengers books. But that's not also saying much at the same time because the other Avengers books really suck. Anyways, that's some comic reviews for you. Let me know what you guys have liked this week, and we'll have some more stuff later. I plan on reading some of those other independent books, and I'll probably try to do another review maybe a day or two later with those. And anyways, so watch for that. If you have any questions, let me know, share, and until next time.